Shoot, other than that, yeah, we're rolling. So how was your week other than that, man?
My week was good. Was good. Every day is always a learning experience. So I had a few hiccups, but other than that, it was good. And I got to just learning how to be patient as well. That's important. Learning how to be patient, especially in the times that we're in right now. Just learning how to be patient. You know, and yeah, and as well as we begin to get into this, also just like cutting things off, like, hey, you know what, this is not super important, let me just take this off the table.
Yeah, I, yeah, I feel that, man. Yeah,
you
not to get too early too, but yeah, this week for me, shoot, it's been good, man. I can't lie. Just getting back into my routine. Whether it be the early rising,
right.
eating and walking. It's like just the basic health things, the important things. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Again, which we'll get into a little bit later on. And just riding the wave, man. I know we met up the other day, and I was telling somebody was telling somebody on Thursday like how just riding the high of the chai, like the chai tea had me up. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, really?
I was zooted on the chai tea.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
and I was just telling my homeboy, it was just like, man, it's been a good week. Just keeping like hitting these things that's progressive. You know what I mean? Instead of just like just ripping and running around. I think definitely. This year was definitely. I mean, not this year. This week has been a very productive week based on the tasks that actually got done.
Mhm.
So that was good, man. And
And
I
we
think,
daylight savings as well, so that's also coming out.
yeah, yeah, facts. Yeah, the sun's coming back out. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's supposed to be 80 degrees sometime this
Yeah,
following this upcoming
that's,
week, so that's
yeah,
interesting.
that's crazy.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I can't no complaints this week, man. No complaints for real. Just chilling, going through the motions like we did last week. Um but which leads me to, man, yeah. For those, man, welcome to the 3 Gen podcast, man. We are here live and correct. You know who it is. It's Carlos Hood. Him with my guy Tim Whedon, your host for the 3 Gen podcast, the number one place in space for the generation of talent stretched across this beautiful thing that we like to call life. So we hope to use our expertise and novelty to inspire, educate, and entertain. This podcast wouldn't be nothing without listeners like you. So thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy the show here. Um, but yeah, now that we got that out of the way. So look, hey, we have I guess quite a good topic to talk about, man. For our listeners, we've been going to this journey from a great book that Tim and I have read in the past, and we use throughout our lives, throughout our careers, to just give us some guidance. Again, I'm not going to name drop this book until they give us the ad space for it, but nonetheless, the principles that's in this book, there's certain characteristics to be a highly effective person, and Tim and I have took a moment to deep dive and write some notes about these things, man, and we just wanted to share about some of our experiences, some of the tactful things that you can use today, to help yourself, become more of an effective person and hopefully live a more fulfilling and fulfilling life and things of that nature. So far, we've already covered the first two steps, and yeah, if you're listening right now, you are very, very in for a great episode as we discuss habit number three, which is putting the first things first. Man, before we even dive into that, Tim, what does what does that even mean to you, man? Like, what does it mean to put the first things first? And I, before, yeah, I want to know, like, what do you mean, or what do you think about why is that important, or
Right,
why is
right.
that a habit to be effective?
Absolutely. So if I could go back, a lot of times, people from the OGs and all this other stuff, uh, to my younger self, this is actually, I think this is one of the most important things. I don't care how many across the board
Yeah.
habits, different stuff like that. Without having this understanding of what's important, it doesn't matter. And I think I really feel this is the most important thing. And I think we get, when you're younger, when you're 19, 20, you can, get involved in some things that may not be as productive or leading towards your specific goals. But as you get older, um, it's necessary to kind of like really pinpoint and focus. And I'll be honest, I have a high level of ADHD,
Mm.
so I could be working on 20 projects, which 20 of them all have the ability to be successful, but because I'm not zeroing in on three of those, right? Because we have like a certain amount of time in the day, or one of those, and giving 1,000%. And I remember the lady from I hate to say this word, the lady from I believe it's Slutty Vegan or whatever they call it, she was saying the same thing, putting 1,000% into a specific project or whatever you're working with and give it your all. And so that's how she was able to achieve and get the funding that she needed to be successful. So I really feel that is like the key. And I've bounced around, and sometimes I feel like I'm really productive. Other times it's just like kind of I'm just like not being as productive. So, I think that's the key. And I apologize, man. I hope, can you rephrase that or
Yeah. No,
I hope
no,
I didn't miss the point.
no, you good, bro. You good. I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking like, what the question was like, why is putting the first things first like important? I think
Yeah.
you hit on a couple of things. S- already, I mean, we could still talk about it, of course, but I mean, I definitely feel like it's important because obviously time management and prioritization
Oh,
is
absolutely.
the key, right?
Absolutely.
Uh
Yep. That's the point.
priorities being the point, you know what I mean? And for our listeners, man, I think it's super important to put the first things first because we're dreamers, man. Like,
Mhm.
uh, you and I, are no like exception to the rule when it comes to like having conversations and dreams and ideas and plans. And we're in the 30th iteration of the project before we even
Right.
hit the gas for this motherfucker. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
like
for real.
it happens. You know what I mean? I think geniuses, what I'm saying, will do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
We've had like philosophers but that I guess the difference between like philosophy and theory and people who actually go there and experiment in these different types of sciences, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I hate the separation when they be like hard science and soft science and stuff like
Right.
that, but the nuance of like the experience of you actually doing this, or we just talking theory all damn day.
Right.
And
Right. 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 I
there
want to speak on that point too, but go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I was saying, going in theory is important, but before we get too deep, I guess like yeah, the habit focuses on time management and prioritization, man, and it truly challenges people you to organize their life
Mhm.
in a
Mhm.
way that truly matters. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And uh, I think the key word there is challenge. You know what I mean? Again,
Right.
like we know what to do. You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
People know what to do. I know we got stories of like, oh man, I could never tell so and so what to do, man, because they
Right.
always tell me I know what to do, I know what to do, but like but you ain't doing it. You know what I
Right,
mean? Or
right, right, right,
so
right. And
it's I think another important part of this is like the fact that it helps you avoid being like consumed with like unurgent or unimportant things. You know
right,
what I mean?
right, right, right,
Uh,
right. And on that note, man, I do have to tell a quick story as well.
yeah, yeah.
So I didn't, what's crazy. I didn't learn, unfortunately, I didn't learn really time management, certain things until, which is scary. I was in my 30s, almost 30s. And so, no, 20, 25, somewhere around there. So, and it took me to to go to Germany.
Mm,
Yo, to be early is to be like 20, 15 minutes. You already there and ready to go. So, and Sweden as well. So they, time management and prioritizing certain things are like really regiment and key. I respect that to degree. And so we were always, brought Kyle over. I think you met Kyle. We were
Yeah.
on a Zoom
I know
call.
Kyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's a brother from this area, right? Artist that came over. Man, we were always late to shows. It was so embarrassing because they would cut our time
Right.
or they wouldn't let us go on. So if we didn't get on or we were late, we didn't get paid. And so, that was like for them too. I was like, look, y'all, this is a wake up call. Like we losing.
Right.
We flew all the way over here and we losing because we're not getting paid. And we not that big. We're not, we're not,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck are we? We're not 50 Cent. We not like, we ain't got a huge entourage. We're just on some underground. We come out here, we sleeping on floors, we just doing this tour. And then y'all acting like, and so they pulled our car every time. Missing flights, they pulled our car. And so not really understanding the time management and importance of, why you there? Why are we there? You know?
Right.
And you lost some fans now, So yeah, but just the point of really like I said, I really that didn't drill in until I had the opportunity to travel and live in both Sweden and Germany and just like how important time management is for them. You know,
Man.
I respect that so much of how they have just system. Even oh, let me get back. Even in Japan,
Yeah.
they have so many systems in place. I can guarantee you this amount of sales. I can do this, and like if they didn't hit it, it's an embarrassment for them, right? So it's like, oh, and they can go above, but they can say I at least can guarantee this.
Right.
And so just how they just manage things, it's just I admire it so much.
No, man, like time management is super important. I mean, throughout like many communities and spaces and reasons why I think it's just yeah, like you don't get that back. This is the like I guess the ultimate luxury in my opinion and ever is like just time. You just can't get that back. It's always appreciated and depreciated at the same
Right.
time. It's one of
Absolutely.
them paradoxical things where like they say what we're trapped by or everything has to have a win, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think on the road I think particularly like on the road to success and personal goals, long-term goals, things of that nature like um especially long-term goals. We talked about this on our last episode about like goal setting and
Hmm.
what does it mean to do that? Uh long-term goals take time, y'all. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there's
Absolutely.
it wouldn't be a long-term goal if it happened fast,
Hmm.
and the analogy that people use is like you gotta like have an elephant and eating it. You can't eat an elephant whole or whatever case may be. You gotta take it piece by piece.
Right.
Um, and even in that, you gotta like define what piece is going to be easier to consume. You know what I
Mhm.
mean, or whatever case may be. Like there's create an order of things, and this is to the priority building, I guess,
Right.
to the
Right.
listeners. Like, um, create a priority list. And we have a tool
Hmm. Hmm.
to help people create this list or this diagram or this idea of how they can shift themselves into a more like productive lifestyle,
Hmm.
going before I guess before I even get into that, like the idea is to go from reactive to proactive.
Right. Right. Right.
uh
Right.
you want to be there. Like I said, people in other countries are, be there at 8 o'clock, they're there at 7:30
Mhm.
because like I am here at 8 o'clock, but I'm also here before. So it's no way in hell I can't be here at 8 o'clock if I'm
Right.
here at 7:30.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
you eliminate the barriers to your success.
Hmm.
And what a tool that was discussed in the book, but also discussed in many other ways, like it's really what we call a time management matrix, right? And I'll put something on the screen so that our viewers can see. But this matrix, if you can picture it like a cross, a four quadrant cross situation. And in it's four quadrants where each quadrant talks about urgency, and importance. And
Hmm.
I want to pause for a second to talk about what is urgency and what is important, you know.
Hmm.
And a lot of people can talk about, well, this is urgent, this is important. You know, it's very subjective to
Right.
teach his own, right? And that's perfectly fine. There's no true definition for each person. But I do want the listeners to think about when they discuss urgency and importance. Um, when you think about urgency, does it require immediate attention? Like urgency is almost like an emergency.
Hmm.
That isn't an emergency. Does it require immediate attention? And again, that's subjective to you. And then secondly, importance. Does it contribute to the long-term success? Um, Again, we got countless of stories where like you may have been doing things that were not important. They may have been urgent, but they may not have been important.
Yep.
And that I know for me, man, we get that. Like I guess a real life example that we'll discuss is just like other people's problems.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
like it may be urgent, you know what I mean? It may be urgent, you know what I'm saying? But it may not, it's more than likely probably not important because you know, it may not have nothing to do with your success and that's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those things do come up.
Hmm.
Those things come up for you, for other people. Like uh may call Tim middle of the day just for me to tell him like, you know, man, I just had the bet, had the bomb his burrito man in town, this, that, and the third, whoop, 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 and this guy's getting ready for a meeting in the next 20 minutes. Like, you know, I ain't no time for that. Like, it may have been urgent, may you know,
Right.
it may have only been, you know, maybe this the last day they're open, and it is urgent. Tim like burritos, cool, but Tim good. He already got his lunch. You know what I mean? It's after 12 o'clock. There's no need to get lunch anymore. So is that really important right now, Carlos, when I got a meeting going on in 20 minutes? So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
But that also, and you mentioned that that also leads to how to say no. But we'll get into that as well. But I think that's important when you talk about the urgency and what's important as well.
yeah, yeah. I'm a. Let's keep it going. So, like, why focus on these things that are important but not urgent? Because that's where I we'll get into as we get into this.
But you know,
That is
I
where,
you
yeah.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say one definitive idea about the management matrix, right? Okay,
Right,
so
right.
we have these activities. We're gonna go through this quick spitball right quick about what's important. Um, over what is urgent, right? And
Mhm.
before we get into the reason why we do that, ladies and gentlemen, is because effective people prioritize tasks that are important. Okay, again, long-term goals. We want to make sure that we're being effective here. We want to make sure we're heading towards our goals. And this because long-term, if you focus on things that are important and not urgent, they lead to long-term successes, growth, and ultimately fulfillment. Okay.
I'll do that.
And you're going to say something. I was going to go ahead and
No, no, the way you set it up, I love it. I usually I just say to people that I even use this as me getting to know folks that I work with. I don't like surprises, I call it. So
that's your
that's a part of
catchphrase.
my that's a part you've heard me say. I know you've probably
Yeah.
heard me say I don't like surprises, right? So meaning like yeah, like I don't you mentioned the urgency, like I don't, hit me before. Like don't let me know until it's right up on us, that emergency situation. But I know you get more into it when we talk, as you're going through the matrix. But yeah, that's my key phrase to anyone that
Yeah.
that knows me or that has worked with me. Dang, Tim, don't like surprises. I'm approachable, but I don't like when I'm just caught off guard, then that's when I'm not approachable.
Yeah, man. I feel that that could be an old man thing. Just kidding, just kidding. You know how man, you know
That's
you
all good.
can't be spooking people, man. Can't be ah.
No, it's all good. Everybody has a different way of looking
Nah.
at it. I just like to be proactive than like you said, we talking about reactive. So I
Yep.
just said that's my way of it, as we talk about the matrix being more proactive than reactive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely, man. Like, and you hit it right on the nose. That was what I was going to say. That it's important to when you do important things that are not urgent. You know, it prevents this crisis mode and reduces the stress. Like, I feel
Absolutely.
you. Like, anytime, I mean, being surprised uh is a reaction. Like, it is a reaction to something you did not know was going to happen, and when you have these things constantly, you know, you're gonna be stressed, you're gonna be a little anxious about it. Like, you know, when's the next one gonna come? Like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to deal with that. And that leads to stress. Eventually you gotta put out these fires, and that leads to burnout, and you just get rust on your decision making. Um and things like that, you start to lose, you know, more than you gain, you know,
Mhm.
whether it be like you miss out, you missed a step, so your planning is skewed.
Right.
You forgot about somebody, so now your relationship is a bit
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
or
Right.
even yourself, you forget about yourself. Like, man, I struggle with this a lot, or I have struggled with this a lot, which is like self-care. Like,
Mhm.
um what they call in the medical field preventative care. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Oh, dude, I mean, this is not my story particularly, but you wonder why you got diabetes and you haven't changed your diet in forever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
wasn't, you know, you didn't have diabetes when you were eating this stuff, but now you got diabetes and you can't
Right.
eat the stuff that you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
so, um, these urgencies may not always be important,
Mhm.
and for that we want to get you out of that quadrant of the
Right.
matrix. And I'll go through the quadrants, but
I just
yeah,
want to. I'll add another example too, as well. Like when
yeah.
you talk about the quadrant and you mentioned relationships. So
Mhm.
here's a sign of urgency. So all of a sudden, I only hear from you when you need something.
Mm,
Right? You're not. We're not building a relationship based around like constant. Even if it's just I for me, I send memes, certain things. I don't even have to say. We're at a point where technology can do that for you.
right.
All of a sudden, I'm just hearing from you out of the blue, and I know you're going to talk more about this, but you mentioned relationships. I'm hearing from you out of the blue. One, I'm cautious, right, and it's a surprise. So it's just like like you mentioned earlier, you talked about self care, but it's also locking in and building those relationships. So when it does come, it's not a surprise to someone like, and I got your back. So always living in this urgency, emergency situation, it's not healthy at all, not at
Yeah,
all.
it puts everybody on angst, man. Yeah, it's
People
hard
live
to
in that
build a
space.
yeah, it's hard to build a strong relationship with people when you only hit them when you need them. You know what I mean? And I think there's a phenomena called sonder where people uh begin to realize that your life is just like Tim's life is just as important as mine and just as complex as mine, and I'm just a
Mhm.
character in his life, similar to how he's a character in my life.
Right.
That is important. If you understand everyone is living in that, um in order to build a relationship with that, you don't want to impede on somebody's, I guess, main character, you know what I mean, their movie, you know what I mean,
Right. 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 Right.
with like a director's cut, you know what I mean? Some shit you like, yo, what the hell? That's not in the script,
Right,
you
right.
know
It's
what
like
I mean?
left field. What's going on, man?
What
Like
is
all of a
going
sudden
on?
now, like, yo, I'm like, what?
You know, so if you do want to do a crossover episode into somebody's life, man, you gotta, like, you know, get the director's approval and all that good stuff, like shit like that. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
um, but definitely building stronger relationships happens before, you know,
Hmm.
the crisis
Hmm.
happens. So
Absolutely.
you know, you want to strengthen your relationships before the crisis.
But let's go
Um,
through the quadrant, like you said, so we can
yeah,
get
yeah.
uh,
Let's go through them right quick. So
boom, boom, boom.
the four quadrants of the time management matrix. So for our viewers, for our listeners, we are in the top left hand corner of the four matrix things. So we're in the top left, right? In the top left hand corner, we call this quadrant one, and we call this part the urgent and important square, or for lack of a better term, let's call it crisis mode. So when things are urgent, when things require immediate attention and are important, they do contribute to your long-term success. Uh, it gets a little wonky, right? So you might think, this sounds good, right? It's fast in my face and it does contribute to my long-term success. This is where I want to live. Well, some examples of these things are like deadlines, right? You know, we know your homework got to be due on Thursday at 8 a.m. You know what I'm saying? We know exactly what we got to do. It is a goal. It is coming up fast. Um, what do we need to do, right? Tim, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we lost you for a second.
I had to
Um,
bounce off for a sec. We good.
You good. But so yeah, deadlines, they have a set date, they have a set time, you have to get it done. It does contribute to your success, but it does require immediate attention. Emergencies, we all have them, whether it be a health issue, it could be a work crisis. These things are important and they do contribute to your success, whether it be like an injury. Um, I know we got family members who may need some care. That is important, right? And then another example is last minute preparations. Tim's worst fear, man. Surprise, surprise. Like I don't. That's an example, but I know he's probably like, yo, I hate that one. Like, don't hit me with no last minute shit, man.
Right, right.
You
And
know?
let me recheck. So
Yeah.
I like a surprise when it's just hey, a birthday or anything. I just don't like surprises when it's dealing with things that we could already had done prior to that, right? That
Right.
I don't mean in it, you know what I mean? Like it ain't like, personal, like, oh, hey, we're gonna
Yeah,
surprise
yeah,
take you
yeah.
there.
You can
Oh,
still
nah,
surprise. You can still surprise Tim, y'all. Like, you know,
right, right. I don't
get him
mean
a
it in that
gift or
way.
something.
Right, right, right. Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
need a gift. But at the same time, as far as it's related to things that we could kind of uh, uh, be proactive with, but
Yeah.
we're not, right? And then or waiting to the last minute to give me the information to figure out how to problem solve or fix the situation. So where it's right up on us, and it's like you just okay, well now what do we do? And these things happen. These things happen, and that's why it's always good when I even when we talk as well and talk about being proactive. And we do this a lot, Carlos. So, what is plan B? What is plan C? What is plan D? Right. So, we already have that locked in, even if we don't even get to it, but it's already locked in. Oh, okay, cool. I'll look at you. You look at, okay, let's move to plan B. Right. So,
Mhm. No, absolutely. I mean, well, again, the word of the day for that is being proactive, right? I mean, the opposite being reactive. That's why it's a problem. You know what I mean? Firefighters fight fires, man. And like, um, we're not firefighters. I mean, if you are a firefighter, still, you already have a very high stressful job. You don't want to put this into your life, where it's high stress, it's burnout, it's lack of time for growth. You're always just moving, constantly moving, and that's a wear and tear on your body, wear and tear on your mind, your spirit, etc. And solution to that is reduce your crisis by planning ahead, and that's where we are now, moving to our right quadrant number two. Again, we call this the not urgent but important, aka the growth mode, where I believe everyone should focus, right? Quadrant number two.
mhm.
Oh man, I'm gonna give you guys some great examples for this one. So long-term planning, you know what I mean? Long-term planning. They say like millionaires, billionaires, whatever, and I'm pretty close, you know what I mean? Pretty close before, you know what I mean? But they say millionaires and billionaires, man, they think in years of like 10 of decade increments, you know what I mean? Where okay, some people have 5 year plans, that's pretty cool, but I got a 10-year plan. I got a decade plan because the goal is to be long term, is um growth over time, and you need this time. Like it doesn't happen overnight. It literally cannot happen. It will contradict itself if it happened overnight
Mhm,
with a
mhm,
long-term goal, right? Um, building relationships and networking. This is something that you can also do in this quadrant, right? It's not urgent. You don't have to do this. You don't have to make 100 friends in 100 days, but maybe you focus on, one friend for 20 days, 25 days, whatever case may be. But it takes time. You build the relationships, you network, you do the due diligence, right? We talked about this the other day. Like, if I want to get a job at a certain place, you may want to figure out what these people eat lunch at. You know what I mean? You may
mhm,
want to you may want to figure out what these people like, and if you align with those things, place yourself in these things and start building those relationships over time. you might even get a job without even getting offered the job. They might just like, oh, sure, I thought you already worked here. You know what I mean? From the just from the ambiance, from the atmosphere, from the building of the building blocks of the relationships. I'm hit these next couple examples, and we can talk about it a little more. But another non-urgent but important thing is learning new skills in education. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Once you learn the skill over time, you can't take it away. Education is a great journey for many people, and it looks different for a lot of people, but that is a long-term thing that was forever will help you grow.
Mhm.
Exercise, self-care, mental health. Again, self-explanatory. Take care of yourself. Take care, you take care of yourself, you take care of others, but you got to start with self. Um, and preventative maintenance, man. Your car, your home, your health. Um, if you see something, immediately take care of it, or not. Doesn't have to be immediately, but take care of it beforehand, so that when it does inevitably, fail or have a issue, you're already ready for it. You expected it. You're ready for it to happen. But yeah, those are just a few examples for our listeners, man. Of Quadrant 2, the not so urgent but important, the growth mode quadrant, top right hand quadrant. Um, and yeah, it's just super crucial. It's a successful, fulfilling, what people sometimes call a balanced life. Spending more time reduces the crisis in your life. But tell me, any thoughts, man? What you saying to that? What's your growth mode? How do you feel about
Yeah, yeah.
that part?
I usually, yeah, and one of the things which for some people they it kind of throws them off. I don't ask the 10-year, but I do ask folks during interview processes like, "What's your 2-year plan?"
Mm,
I even ask it in a way, not necessarily, and I even say not necessarily has to do with working with us, but what is your 2-year plan? And that just kind of gives us more of an outline of the individual you working with or will be working with. Do they have a plan? Where they want to go and how we can one help them get there. But again, it just kind of gives more knowledge and builds you know more information for us to kind of figure that piece out. So I do think yes, live 10-year plan. And one of the things that we constantly work on in my household is like, what does that 10-year plan look like? And then now we have that 10-year plan in relation to that, then, again, just sticking to the book, what are the steps in order to get to where we need to go in that 10-year plan? So that's key. And also an area that, prior to, the work that I'm doing now, it was a constant. When I worked in the music industry, it was based on relationships. Everything was had to deal with like who I'm with, uh, where I need to be, events that I need to attend to, tired or not tired, hitting 5 shows in a week just to meet certain people. So, and then, following up with folks and anything around sales. But I even think in personal life, we need to do that and continuously build build out positive network, especially if you're young. I think when you're young, there's so many opportunities where people are like, around my age are willing to, who are, we're like crying to help you because we know that this now we're passing on either a legacy or we're passing on knowledge where then they could, you know, uh, better themselves or improvement or help them out of, um, failing situations. Oh, okay, I'll rethink that, even though times have changed. But so I really believe, and out of those you mentioned was as relationships as well as having a long term plan. Those things hit really hard, and I
yeah,
always exercise, so that's just a given. So
yeah, I
yeah,
feel that though. I mean, and I think the most important thing for me for this one on a personal tip is that this is a challenge. The a lot of people don't think they have the time to do XYZ, and that can be a challenge of itself. Just thinking that they don't, and or that they don't have access to it, or whatever case may be. But it is a challenge. I want to say that for our listeners that we're not saying that this stuff is easy. You
right,
know,
right, right.
It is, but it is a tool. It is a mindset change. It is a way that you can start to visualize. And once you see things, it becomes a little easier for you to do. You can mimic them. These things become repeatable steps. But I don't want to leave this.
When you say it's a
This
challenge,
Yeah, I don't want to leave this quadrant without stating that it's a challenge because of just how the world is, man. Like, you have to, this is something that's against the grain, when it comes
right,
to,
right, right, right.
being successful, you will have to be going against the grain most times, often than not. You're going to have to, make decisions that aren't going to be the status quo. Because it again, it's having this foresight, it's having this trust, having this belief and confidence in yourself, that you will get to your goal. And that is a challenge if others around you aren't doing the thing that you're doing. If others aren't being proactive, others aren't what was our second habit? I forgot.
Yeah, but I do want to add something when you say a challenge, which is just to bring up this point too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny how sometimes, which is this should be a whole nother session too. Is like how we treat our job compared to we treat our personal lives, right? So we
yeah.
put more emphasis on our job. We make the time, right? So
Mhm.
oh, I gotta even if you're not even getting paid for that hour, the extra time or whatever. I don't know how
Yeah,
you just get a set payment or whatever. But that time, you put in that extra time to make sure that PowerPoint present, whatever you have to do is done. But do you put that time in your personal life? And it's interesting
yeah,
how we look at that because I was on that same spectrum. It's like putting more time into that than sitting down and focusing on, the challenges or whatever needs to be done. Should we start our weekly or bi-weekly meeting going over our 10-year plan, reviewing where we are, what needs to be done, building relationships, reaching out to folks. So do we do that in our personal life? Do we treat that the same as, and maybe it's a necessary thing, I think believe they talk about in the book, or that you mentioned as well, like treat it like a job as well. Like
yeah,
have it on the calendar, treat it as a job.
yeah, man. I mean, historically, the common folk are so we tend to trade time for money, and like, whereas the one percenters, the wealthy, trade their money for time. So,
Right.
it's again, going back to the challenge.
Another story, right? Right.
It is a long story. We got some murky waters over here in the United States of America. It's slavery, but you know what I mean. But other than that, yeah, it is a challenge nonetheless. It is decision making, to be had. And these next two quadrants, man, they have a lot of residents in them. I used to live there. I sometimes vacation here myself.
Mm,
Um, it's a hot spot. It's a commodity, man. But everyone can get some. And this quadrant three, this is the bottom left hand quadrant for our visual learners here. It is the urgent but not important,
mm,
right? Which we call that the distraction mode. This is a space, again, in today's time, maybe in the last 20, 30 years or so, or in the last 50 years as it's been on a climb, technology has been an aid in this for sure.
mhm. Absolutely.
Communication on a positive tip has been an aid of this, but more importantly, it's been a distraction,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Distractions. I don't know. And I know some pretty dope people across the board. You've been one yourself, but I don't know many people who aren't distracted. Let's say 10 times out of their day,
Right. Right. All day. Yep.
all day, and that this requires an extreme amount of discipline. Again, the challenge, right?
Mhm,
Um, the ability, you talked about this, and I want you to speak on that. The ability to say no to certain things, right?
mhm,
Some examples of distractions that are urgent but not so important. It could be interruptions. These can be phone calls, unnecessary emails, unnecessary meetings, things of that nature, right? Things that
mhm.
just like, don't really need your attention right now. That don't need your attention. They could
Right.
be important. They could be very right now, but they may not need your attention. Other thing, I said this earlier, other people's urgent but unimportant demands.
Mhm.
So again, it's your problem, it's your thing. Is your demand. It may not even have to be a problem. It could just be something that they want right now, and you're like, yeah, I don't think that's important to me right now, right?
Mhm.
And we said this also earlier, being busy but not productive.
Mhm.
Um, Doing a lot of shit is not, it's not always getting things done. I got a video I put on
You talk a
Instagram.
lot about that too.
Yeah,
I
I about to
noticed
say
that
yeah.
my conversation with you, and so I want you to talk more about it and give me your definition, and then I want to get into it because I'm realizing certain things after talking with you as well and going through this process again. Um, I thought one way, but in actuality, it's another way. But I want you to touch on it first.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I talked about this before, and on yeah, talked about this before in other conversations. But what I my biggest thing for this, for our listeners, man, like, look, there's a
That's a
term out
hold
there.
up. That's my like you know I say I don't like uh having a brain freeze. I don't like surprises. To me,
Yeah,
that's
that's
you,
my
right?
I don't like surprises,
Yeah.
man. Like, don't like,
That's
yeah,
your version of like you're constantly telling me, man, I don't want to be just doing some busy, like it don't work like
yeah, man, yeah. For
busyness,
me,
sleeper.
man, there's a term out there, there's a slang that we like, yo, man, so and so got so much motion, man. They got motion, they got motion, they got
Right,
motion.
right, right.
And like, I did like a satirical video on my Instagram. It was like, I was like, hey, look at me. I'm running in place. You know what I mean? I got a lot of motion over here. I got a lot of motion, but I'm running in place. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't going no fucking where, man.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
and people love motion, man. People love motion, but if you have no destination, no direction, it don't mean shit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not me harping on people. You know what I mean? But that's literally physics. You know what I mean? I try to back things with facts. Like vectors and things of that nature. Speed and velocity will get you. So you can be speedy all you want, but with no velocity, you're not going anywhere. Velocity is the distance traveled over
Right,
time. You know what I mean? At a set speed.
right,
So
right, right.
uh, I I, t- I say all that to say to paint a picture that just because you're doing stuff doesn't mean you're doing anything. You know what I mean? And that is a pet peeve for me, bro. That you're right. This is my don't surprise me. Because I just feel like I do want people to be successful. I do want to be successful myself. I do trust the process. Well, or I try to, battle with that. Everyone trusts, battle with trust in the process. But I think the reason why I battle with trusting the process is because sometimes some people's processes don't be productive.
Mm,
And I think that's it, man. Like we talk about, like this whole thing evolves around time and like this limited thing that we're on. And you and I have been separated by some years, man. It's just showing to our audience that like, yeah, like time does prevail at the end of the day. You're hearing our stories, you're hearing our ups and our downs, our triumphs and successes, and even our failures too. But the one thing that's been consistent nonetheless is that time does prevail. Like it will. I won't even say catch up to you, but it will go on like without you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
absolutely,
being
absolutely.
busy is not one of those things that I want to like use my time for
Right,
personally.
right,
Like
right.
I don't like that. So but yeah, to you, man, I'm gonna swing it back to you. Like
It's
being
just
busy, not productive. What's up with
right, right.
coming? Yeah.
So I looked at it and even kind of um, looked at the definition and it's saying busy work often consists of low impact activities, distractions, as you mentioned, or tasks that make you feel occupied but don't drive real outcomes. And so, with that said, I feel like there's been a lot of times where same thing. I thought I was being productive, but really there was no specific drive to outcomes around that, and doing focus more on low activity activities, focused on more low impact activities. And so for me, I think it was that moment, that aha moment. I realized that maybe I'm afraid of really putting in a certain amount of work to get to get that velocity, to get the distance, and so forth. So And that could, some people term that as imposter syndrome as well as one way of looking at it. But, just kind of stuck in that busy work, but not really, hey, this is where you're trying to go, but you just kind of like, nah, I'm gonna stay here. I'm just gonna do some busy work. Make it
Right.
seem like I'm moving somewhere, but in reality, it's just a house of cards, right? So it's not even a structured thing that you're building in. So I have been in that space and with distractions and even telling people, going around the same thing. Yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But like you said, man, you ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Even my one of my relatives like say, you always in meetings every time I talk to you. He was like, every time I talk to you. So, it was like, I when I moved back, I was helping him out, just some side work, cutting some grass, working. He has
Yeah.
a lawn service business, helping him out. It's like I said, yo, man, I got rolling about this time. I said, man, you always in meetings, man. Get this work done. It's like,
Yeah.
so it's just like, I've been there. So I've been there in all aspects. But I think it's important that when we talk about this, and that you're talking about it as well, is that we understand it. I think
Yeah.
because sometimes we can just be in this wheel and not even know. Sometimes
Yep.
we don't even know. We're not, there's
Eh,
no outcomes. We keep pouring money more, pouring more in, and there's nothing coming out.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the reason for that is because it feels productive. You know what I mean? It does feel productive. Like you get I'm answering hella emails. I'm like, or I mean, I find myself doing this all the time too. Like this, again, I vacation in this spot a lot, man. It's a hot commodity, but like I might catch myself, man. I'm trying to do like a 90-minute work date with myself, which is another good, for my listeners, another good thing. We'll talk about that in the future, but do myself like a little 90-minute work day, and maybe I find myself for like, let's say 5 to 7 minutes, man, 5 to 10 minutes on my emails, knowing damn well it's only, but it's a hundred spam in here, and only two emails I had to check. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like, I call myself cleaning up my emails. And like, yeah, that's you should, you know what I mean? You get to a certain amount, you lose data and shit, but like I'm like, nah, this has nothing to do with,
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do for real.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
took out 10, 15 minutes going through every email I got just to, oh, let me make sure there's no, oh, I don't need that. I don't need that. I got to add from here. Like, what I'm saying? Like, and that's, again, it feels productive. I am getting something done, right? But had nothing to do with the long-term goal I was trying to do. And I'm wasting energy, on, I guess lesser priorities than the higher ones.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right. And saying
but
been in this space, even, just to pinpoint that. So I
yeah,
remember one time, I believe it was Sierra said to me, like, how could you have like 1,000, like this are over 100,000 emails? What do you and again, same thing. I'm trying to clean it up, but I've learned I'll just say, you know what, I'm gonna let it go. There's some I will go through and fix, but focus on what needs to be focused on and then finding a way, which is interesting. Even Google has now set up a way in which they realize you're not even answering these mails. These are just sitting here.
right.
So you want me to get rid of these? I'm like, oh, perfect. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. So so they help you to stay, not do that busy work. But if there
Yeah.
was an app out there, oh my gosh, I would use it. It probably
Yeah.
is. It probably is.
Yeah, I was going to say that's perfect segue to some of the solutions, man. Is like, how do you get out of this mode of being distracted nonetheless, right? I think the number one, and you just hit on it right on the head too, man, is delegation, right?
Mm.
To
Oh,
delegate,
absolutely.
you got to be able to give these tasks off to other people. You know what I mean? Like, and I think a real prime example to do that again. It's tough because it's people, right? You're on the phone with somebody. Oh man, I need this, da 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 da, right? My favorite one is, oh, I know somebody.
Yeah. I can't do it, but I know somebody.
Hey,
Right, right.
I
That's
know
what's up.
somebody. You know what I mean?
Right,
I
right,
know
right.
somebody, and like, this may be like people listening to this, but like, yo, this nigga glows, like he's telling all his secrets. But nah, man, like,
That's how
this
it
this
is. Yeah.
this is a twofold, solution, right? So one, it gets it off of you, right? It gets it
Right,
off
right,
of you.
right.
But two, if you actually know somebody, if you had actually delegated to somebody who can get the job done, for the person that you're, talking to. You build a relationship. You then help them. It's
Yeah,
a, it's a
absolutely.
it's a it's a win-win-win
Right, right,
situation if it's, obviously genuine. But
right.
more importantly, you guys, like, if you have a lot of distractions, you need to delegate them. Even if it's an AI tool, you know what I mean? Like, and you want to check those goddamn
Yeah.
thousands of emails,
Yes.
the AI tool can do it for you instantaneously, tell you what you need, what you don't need, et cetera, et cetera. But it's delegated, it's less things that you have to do, right?
Hmm.
And I guess another thing that comes with um people and yourself and the relationships you have with technology, et cetera, is setting boundaries. And
Mm.
again, challenge, y'all.
It
Like,
is. It is.
it's not as easy as it is said, even with the delegation, right? But setting boundaries, I think, is super important. Could be, it's definitely probably, the more important of the two here, right?
Most important.
Uh, because we all need them, you know. I think Tim and I, we talk about boundaries a lot in different ways. One and most recent, we talked about like the boundary of, like, I guess, barrier to entry. We talk about that a lot when it comes to our products,
Hmm.
um, and just what it means, right? We're never trying to. I guess boundaries personally work the same way. You're never trying to, like, tell somebody, hey, you can't do X, Y, Z. But we are saying that here's the line, and if you cross this line, there's the consequence for this line. Or
Hmm.
here's the line, you cross this line, this is what's coming from that. And it's like creating a permeable. I call it creating a permeable wall. For those who don't know what that means, it's just something that you can go through, but you have to have the correct properties to go through, right? Water, oil, different substances get dissolved or go through your skin, and but it has to have a certain property to actually do so, right? Mud is not going to go, you get what I'm saying. I would say mud, but my point is it has to have certain properties. So you set a boundary. An example of that is like limiting the checking emails. Like, that limit could be like, yo, if I'm going to check my emails, only going to be for 2 minutes, you know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
And stay firm to that, right? Or declining the unnecessary meeting, especially if you're in an important scenario. Like, I
Mhm.
can't talk on the phone right now between these 2 hours because I'm working on this.
Right, right, right. Do you
It,
cut
it,
off your phone? Do you cut off your phone at all or no?
cutting off
A
my phone.
timer
I,
or anything?
I cut off my phone for bed for sure. I try to, like, limit myself, like, my phone time when it's time to go to bed.
Hmm.
I don't cut off my phone during the day, but they do, have the setting of, like, do not disturb, so I might not have access to, like, notifications, stuff like
Right,
that. But
right, right. But that's
yeah,
good. That's good. That's definitely a good tool. And I say one of the things that that lesson learned, is just how to say no, because you
yeah,
you see you think it's an opportunity, but again, it could wind up being just busy work. There was always situations where I get involved in stuff. And I'm like, what the heck did I just get myself involved in? And you're just saying yes, yes, yes. Because there was a time where there were a lot of publications and books that came out that just was saying say yes to everything, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I don't agree with that because, again, that back to that the concept you mentioned, like the whole busy work thing, it doesn't make sense. So saying yes to everything, even at work and doing projects, but these projects aren't really leading you to either get additional promotions or opportunities like that. I think you could be very exclusive. And I know sometimes managers may have that expectations of you, but then again, you're setting certain boundaries as well. And I know it's a tough thing, but look at the others who are in your workspace, and ask questions how they have succeeded in, did it bring them the promotion, getting, not coming home at 12 at night or whatever, every week, did it get them the extra promotion or opportunity, and if not, you have to reassess that, right? So I don't think that this whole concept of saying yes, yes, yes to everything is a good thing as well.
yeah. I think going back to setting boundaries, man. Setting boundaries isn't a bad thing. They don't have to be like impenetrable walls. I mean, some of them should be, right? But as you set boundaries, you'll realize which ones you have a little more leeway to, so with some that you just can't shake and move, and again, that's creates a foundation for the I guess the prime you, the you that you want to be in the future, and how you want to be seen, how you want to be perceived, and etc. And yeah, it just helps, man. It just helps you be in a space where you're fulfilled and
I
yeah.
yeah, I do want to bring up one thing. When you're done, I want to bring up one thing. It's funny.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So yeah, so as far as setting boundaries, I learned from Mo real quick. We was sitting outside, right? And it was like some guy had came by talking some crazy, like rode on a bike, talking some crazy stuff. Mo said, I gotta go. It just was like, yo, dude, just like boom, I gotta go. And so my man, I read quickly. So even in communicating and dealing with him, I'm very conscious of like, yo, this man is like, I gotta go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, play. So
Yeah,
I respect that. You know what I mean? I really respect that.
yeah,
Uh, when it comes to that, because I just like that threw me. We just had met too. We just were just trying to get to know each other. And it was like, and then I believe it was a little bit after work time. And I know he got his family, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So he was like, I gotta go. It's like, all right.
Nah, big
Oh, that
big
was funny,
facts.
man.
You gotta set the boundaries, man. Gotta set and to your point, like it just leaves the other person, thing, entity, like in the line of respecting it or not. You know what I mean? And
Right.
hopefully they do respect the boundary. Is the and again, it adds to this recipe of like fulfillment, success, long term goal setting, etc. Where you know we're just not, I was gonna say wasting time, but that's our next one. We're just not distracted.
Hmm.
But uh our going to our last quadrant, quadrant number four, again, this is a nice vacation spot. Not the best one, it's like probably 2-star hotel vacation spot I sometimes go to, which is the not urgent and the not important, aka the wasting time mode. I've gotten better with this. People tend to get better with this over time. But more importantly, we're all, victim to this at some point, which is it could be the not urgent, the not so important, the things that don't need our attention, the things that don't go towards our long-term goals. This can be excessive TV, social media, mindless scrolling or browsing, procrastination. Tim said this earlier, busy work that doesn't lead to anywhere, right? And this is very self-explanatory. Like this, it's thousands of more examples that you can add into it, but they're called like the time wasting ones, right? The ones that lead to low productivity. You wasted time, and these you actually feel this. Like this, not it's a difference between the time wasting ones and the distracted ones, because at least in the distracted ones, you do feel like you're doing something productive.
Hmm.
Um, these time wasted activities, you're not doing anything productive. You are very aware that there's no way in hell you're going to be a millionaire just watching TV all day,
Hmm.
you know, and I think that this one also comes with, like, again, some mindfulness, but just the I guess, yeah, the mindfulness, the awareness to be like, hey, like I'm not doing anything right now, because this is where you can get the most comfortable. Um, it's easy, more easy than ever, excuse me. Especially with our phones. It's crazy. Like, a little quick segue. Like, you would the phone and having this computer in our hand, and like what we are today, where there's like this super good things, super bad things, how you want to call it. But I just find it very, very interesting that, like, we do as humans, we don't take it people don't take the most advantage. Like, I'm gonna say myself, like, we having this computer in our hand, like, at all times.
Right.
And yeah, it's okay to take a break, but I just think like the maximizate, like, we're definitely not maximizing the technology that we have
Mhm.
on the grand scheme. And I guess if everyone was, then it would look different. But I just think in general, myself personally, I know I don't maximize my technology as best as I could.
Mhm, mhm,
And that can just come from me again vacationing in this quadrant of like things aren't necessarily important right now, or like this is not need my urgent, attention. And for that, you can, take a slip back and, be in these low productivity and wasted time and sometimes regretful,
mhm,
oh man, I should have did this during this time, or like I missed this opportunity because I was doing this instead of doing that.
mhm,
Um and it is a problem because it is this escape that many people do wish to have from dealing with important problems or dealing with important work. And
mhm.
we all fall victim to this, but this is definitely, in my opinion, the one of the worst quadrants to live in. To live in, vacation, cool. We stop through for a little bit. What's up, cousin Day Day and them, hey, we good, you know, but you don't want to live here because you fester, this type of this habit of, yeah, I don't got nothing to do, I ain't gonna do nothing, and that's what we doing. So Tom, thoughts on the quadrant number 4, not so urgent, not so important. What type of real estate you got over there, Tim?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things is like when we talk about this quadrant, I look at it and hopefully the viewers kind of get, can resonate with it, especially if you're looking towards entrepreneurship or just, loved doing projects. And again, I mentioned earlier I have a high level ADHD. So for me, that in this time wasted mode, which I'm to this day, y'all, I'm still learning how to be more, be more productive within this space. I say for me, it's like you already have an existing project and you're working on,
Yeah,
and you're still in the either the core or prototype or now your testing stage, and then you start working on 5 other projects, right? Oh, I got this idea. I got this idea. I got this idea. And you're wasting time for the main thing that you should be working on. And, that to me is, living in that space of like kind of procrastination because you already got something ready to go. You've already been presenting it, you've been showcasing it and everything else. And now you start fucking 20 more, 30 more projects, which makes no sense. So
right.
again, is we talked about that earlier, is that space between what's the term I want to use, fake it till you make it, or what was it I said earlier?
Like
Ah,
the busy work situation.
yeah, the busy work, or just kind of like you're what are you afraid of, right? You keep
Right,
procrastinating. Stick to that. And so
right,
that, stick to the project, that the one project you're working on, and stop procrastinating. So for me, what sets in that real estate is the concept of procrastination. However, I will say though, when we talk about this quadrant, mindless scrolling, I'll loosen up a little bit if it's done in the right way. So let's say I'm not sitting around watching ratchet videos,
mm,
but at the same time, I'm in a space of quadrant two, you know, gaining some information, learning something, you know, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'll pick that up later, or, taking notes of information. So part of that could be in quadrant two,
yeah,
meaning but at the same time, again, I guess the term mindless browsing is just like
yeah,
really just like I'm watching some ratchet, but I'm talking about stuff like really like, oh man, and you're going
yeah.
through like picking
Research,
out
research versus mindless browsing are two different
two
things.
different things.
I
Yeah,
will
you're
say.
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, but yeah, difference, mindless browsing. But I stick in the what really occupies my mind is the procrastination and just and again the busy work, the procrastination, understand the difference between the busy work. So for procrastination, busy work, they kind of coincide. Like
Yeah,
again, like working on a million things, but there's 24 hours in the day, and then you've already have stuff that's kind of uh
Compartment. Sure.
that's already there, like you know, it's ready, it's there, it's we're they're waiting for the waiting for the next step, but then nah, I'm over here now, so it's just like kind of and again, uh, like I said, that can also be related to a high level ADHD, but finding ways of how to, again, like you said, compartmentalize and say, this is priority, like we talk about the quadrants, and that's
Yeah.
what I've learned throughout this journey as well, like how to prioritize and things that just, man, say that for 2 years, like that's not even on the table right now. That's way like, an
Yeah.
idea of like, hey, I'm gonna get water from the from you know uh, from the glaciers or something, like, create a water company with the glaciers, and I'm like,
Yeah, knowing damn well that it's gonna take forever to come down there. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Like, no, you said some things, man, that go into these solutions, which is like eliminating these time wasting habits as best as you can.
Hmm.
Uh, cool way to think about how you do that is replace them with the things that are in quadrant two. So we're in quadrant four, the bottom right.
Hmm.
Switch some those activities for the things that's in quadrant two, the top right. And they will eventually start to enrich your life. Again, doesn't happen overnight. Doesn't happen overnight, but you start to see gradual changes in yourself, where it's like, I spent an hour on this podcast this morning instead of sleeping in or watching TV, et cetera, et cetera. And this pod is going to be for in align with my long-term goals and what we're trying to do here. So just doing that, just listening to this podcast is putting you closer to your long-term goals, ladies and gentlemen. um and I guess the key takeaway I want to give out before we close is just like, people often think that they don't have time for personal growth. Um, Not knowing that that's all you have is the time. Like, that's the main thing you have. That's
First.
probably the most abundant thing you have is the time. So you do have time for personal growth. You do have time to build or foster or mend relationships, and you do have time to plan. And it's usually, you don't probably don't think so because you usually are in quadrant one or quadrant three. You know,
Mhm.
you're probably putting out fires all the time, or you're probably just distracted. Some of us are just wasting time, period. But majority of us are in quadrants one and quadrants three, where we're being super reactive, or we're doing busy work and assuming that we're being productive, right?
Mhm.
And the goal is to actively live in quadrant two, where um, we prevent burnout. We are seeing the long term goals. We're tracking progress. We're doing the things that's necessary so that we feel good, we look good, and that we do good.
Mhm.
Um, that all those that recipe to um, just mark out your journey helps out because you start to see where um, things could go wrong and prepare for those.
Mhm.
You can celebrate your accomplishments without having a lurking new thing on your tail. So, like, what I'm trying to say is that you can celebrate your accomplishments without knowing that there's another deadline handed
Right.
up. You know what I mean? Like, you you did your deadline. I think I learned about this. This is a segue. I learned about this in my project management course. Like, it's important to initiate the project and close the project. You
Mhm.
got to know when the shit is done. You got to know when to say when. And in those times where, and we do this with Tech Turn Up, man, like, we accomplish something, we got to go out. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got to close the project. This is what
Mhm.
happened. Let's report out XYZ, but we're not going to be, after this day, we're done. Like, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. No
And we
more.
don't have to go on to the next thing so fast
Mhm.
because we plan for this. We plan for this break time. We call it, what we do in our job, what, research and development. Like, we did a whole quarter of curriculum. We need a week or two just to recoup, figure out our next steps before we get into the next journey.
Can I say something real quick,
Yeah, yeah,
bro?
for sure, for sure.
First of all, man, congratulations on your certification. So I saw. I saw that. So let's mention that, right? As accomplishment that you
Yeah,
did that. Let's say I like to say congratulations on your project management certification. So I want to that up. So and I do want to add one last thing for quadrant four. There are tools wise, there are tools on your phone which will allow you to notice how much time you're spending on each social media outlet or apps that you're spending time on, and then you can work towards reducing that. And then there's other apps that are out there that that we talked about that can like initially do not disturb, can set your phone on autopilot for a certain period of time. So there are a lot of apps and ways to kind of help to reduce time wasting, that quadrant and quadrant four time wasting mode.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what we're here for, right? We're here to, not only tell you our stories and our experiences and, some of our trials and tribulations, but just also give you some real life, immediate, some urgent, saying solutions to get you started because I think that's a critique that I've heard from many people like, oh, well, people have these conversations, but they never give you anything to do right now. Like, how do I start right now? And I will hope that any listener listening to this, two things, you can always reach out to us via email. This should be a poll somewhere down below in the description below. Um, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Spotify, there's a poll. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, there's in the links in the description. All the, for our listeners here, you can reach out to us. We are real people. We are in the neighborhood. You may actually
Are
see us.
approachable.
We are approachable. We are approachable. Just two friendly neighborhood black guys. You know what I mean? Out here in the world, man. The
I
geniuses
like to
of
say melanin, but I got
melanated, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? It's the point is that we are the ones, you know what I mean? This is, the present, past, and the future. All wrapped up in one here at 3Gen. And yeah, guys, we've had a blast. I hope Tim, you had a great time talking to the
oh,
folks, man.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I
These
before
are our
we leave
times.
though, before we leave, I do got one thing I do want to show you. So give me 1 second. I
Don't
really do.
surprise me, man. I'm just kidding.
I do got one thing.
So no surprises, man. Oh man, what is he gonna do? Let's see. We'll wait. We'll
Yeah,
wait.
as I get this thing,
What
so
does he got? What does he got? What's
gotta,
going
gotta,
on? Let's see. Let's see.
gotta get this thing queued up, man. So as I
All
get this
right. Okay. Okay.
thing queued up, man.
All right.
Shoot. So, I know this is a longer episode. Oh, let me pull up my mic. My bad. This is the a longer episode than
By the way,
most
what
of our.
kind of mic you got? I like that mic, man.
Oh man, a colleague of mine, had a nonprofit,
What is it? Don't ask, but ask for permission.
yeah. You know what I mean? I know a couple guys, what I mean, in the nonprofit sector, we got to do the good work. So you get some. It's a perk. It's a perk of the good work.
Absolutely, man. I can't, absolutely, man, and more, absolutely, bro. I with the great stuff you do, man. Absolutely.
Hey man, I
You still
appreciate
there,
it.
right?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm definitely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Now I can hear. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Cool.
right, cool. Yeah, I gotta play this right quick. I gotta send this over to my computer.
I'm looking at that hat as well, man. Are those like bears on there?
Yeah. These are bears on it. A
I'm
local
assuming you
art.
know the person. I knew it. I was good. You know the person that made the hat, right?
Yeah. You know me, man. You know me, man. You know me, man.
I
Look,
appreciate. I love the way here's another thing, man. This is off subject. I just love the way you rep. You truly rep folks that you represent, and then it's like we need more of that. And I appreciate that, and I think that that's something that if folks say, yeah, we need to collaborate, we need to do, that's one step that you can do, and then we hope that you like what we're doing. Don't be afraid to not or,
yeah,
or don't be
absolutely.
afraid or sit on the sidelines like, oh nah, it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, man. It's if I like it, I'm playing it. You know what I mean? I want to
Right.
work it. All right, so uh, this right here, man, is a banger. We're gonna end the show on this one.
Oh,
We gonna end the show on this right
you
here,
already
man.
you already
So,
set it off. Now I already know.
oh yeah, we went in the show on this one, man. So
I already know.
again, ladies and gentlemen, man, here over here at 3 Gen Records. We got a artist. And yeah, we're gonna let him speak for himself, man. I got an opportunity to collaborate with this guy, so we're gonna end out on this one. We're gonna end out on this.
I want no goddamn burger, man. I want no goddamn burger, man. Burger, man. I want no goddamn burger, man. I want no goddamn burger, man. Burger, man. I want no goddamn. I want no goddamn burger, man. Burger, man.
Because
I want no goddamn. I want no burger, man. Burger, man.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's all we're
I
gonna
don't
give it
want no
right
goddamn burger, man.
now.
We gonna get on the road, right? We're not gonna be late, right?
Yeah,
So
we're not
we're gonna be
not gonna
late
be
when we
not
go
gonna
to
be late,
Germany,
man. You know,
Switzerland, Denmark. We're not gonna be late, right?
yeah,
Sweden, we're not gonna be late.
all that. But look. Hey, if y'all haven't copped the new single, man, Burger Man, you know what I'm saying, out now everywhere. You know, what I'm saying? Gotta have the merch now. Look,
Oh
I
my
don't want no
god.
goddamn burger, man. Look, and the
Oh,
crazy, look, me and
gotta
my
give them the backstory though, real quick though. They
oh
can't.
man, the
You
backstory,
gotta
man. If
give
they want
them
the backstory, go watch episode 2
okay.
of the
Yep.
Three
There you
Gen
go.
podcast. You can get all the backstory there. Me and my partner, we listen to this all the time. She's vegan, very heavily plant based in the household. And we were like, damn, like if no context, you're probably like, yo, this like, you know what I'm saying? Like this nigga don't want no he don't want no food. But again, ladies and gentlemen, man, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, yo, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for joining us every week, whatever this drop cycle is, but we got y'all, man. Whatever time frequency you listen to this is the place to be. Again, I'm your host, Carlos Hood here with my guy, Tim Whedon. This is the 3 Gen podcast, and we are out.
Yes.
Peace. Peace, 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 peace.